All right, so next up we have one of our amazing sponsors, the MLC. And if you guys don't know what the MLC is, it's the Mechanical Licensing Collective. And if you don't know what they do, you need to stick around and find out, because you're about to find out, and it's really important because they have money for you.
Lindsey Major from the MLC.
Yay!
Hey everybody.
Hello.
Thanks for coming tonight. Before I get started, I just want to kind of get an understanding of who's in the room. How many of us are songwriters, composers, lyricists, creatives? Raise your hand. Great, cool. Any music publishers, labels? Okay, cool. All right, so, and how many of us are familiar with the MLC, Mechanical License Collective? Great, we got some people in the room. Cool. So I'm here to just tell you all about the MLC, where we fit into the digital landscape, and just hopefully provide some clarity to what can seem like very complicated business. So the MLC, our mission is to ensure that songwriters, composers, lyricists, music publishers are able to receive their mechanical royalties accurately and on time. Does that sound pretty good to everyone so far? Okay, cool. Yeah, I have money for you maybe, so, well, not me, but. So how many of us are familiar with the MMA, Music Modernization Act? Great. Cool. So this is a pretty, for those of you who are not familiar, this is a pretty landmark legislation that passed in 2018. There's some key things that passed during the Music Modernization Act. So one of them was this creation of the blanket license, blanket mechanical license. So what this meant was that all usages on these digital services like Spotify, Amazon, Apple, if they were downloads and interactive streaming, they're covered by this license. Before, it was a lot more complicated. You had to get individual licenses, and a lot of these services were using works that they maybe didn't have permission to use, that caused people not to get paid. It was basically a pretty complicated system to manage. So this blanket license covers the uses for those. Another thing the MMA did was that it established the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective, as the sole company that could administer this new blanket license, which I'm going to get into more specifics about the MLC in a little bit, but that was another key thing about this new legislation. And then a third thing that's really important about this new legislation to understand is that it mandated that the MLC establish and maintain a publicly available database of musical works, compositions. So for the first time ever, you're able to go to a database and see all the musical works, compositions that are available, all the publishers, administrators, songwriters that are attached to those works. So that's how the MLC got started. Now, before I talk more specifically about the MLC, I want to kind of talk about the digital royalty landscape as a whole. So when your works are exploited on one of these platforms, there are potentially 4 ways that you get paid. So they're on the screen behind me. Trust you can all see that. But this is probably the most important graphic, and I do have a QR code, so get your phones ready. Once I talk about this, you will be able to scan our QR code and have it available to you. This is all, if you don't have your phone for some reason, this is also available on our website. But this is an amazing graphic of just how you get paid if your works are streamed or used on a digital platform. So as you can see, there's a very specific place where the MLC lands, and this is digital audio mechanical royalties in the US market. So you've got your performance. So when your music is streamed, there are 2 rights that are created. There's a right for musical works, there's a right for a sound recording. That results in potentially 4 different royalty streams. I know, it gets a little bit complicated, but I promise you, I'll talk more about the MLC, and then we've got a panel right after this where we'll talk about more than this. But where the MLC comes into play is number 2, under musical rights, where we pay that US digital and mechanical for those, for interactive streaming and for digital download. So if your performance right, as you can see behind me, that's your PRO. If you've got, a digital performance right, that's sound exchange. So I I could spend a lot of time on this slide, and because I only have a little bit of time, I'm going to move forward. But for those of you who need this, here's the QR code. I'll get out of the way so you can take it.
Lindsay, what's the difference between a non-interactive stream and an interactive stream?
That's a great question. So an interactive stream is basically like the experience you'd have on a paid Spotify account. So I get to pick what I want to listen to, when I want to listen to it, how long I want to listen to it. A non-interactive stream is similar to an experience you'd have if you have like a Pandora radio or a Sirius XM radio, where you don't necessarily get to pick. It's played for you. So that's the difference. Good question. Thank you. Did everyone get this QR code? All right, cool. Save that. We can put it up later again, but it's really important to just understand how you're getting paid. Where to go get those revenue streams. So now I'm going to talk about the MLC. So again, we are here to administer the blanket license for all those digital audio mechanical royalties for, again, interactive stream and digital downloads. So we collect a lot of data from the DSPs. We collect money from the DSPs. It flows through us. We match that, and then we pay the proper rights holder, whether that's a songwriter, whether that's a publisher, CMO, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to cover this. This is really, really important too. So if you want to take a picture of the slide, this is also super helpful. But what the MLC does is, again, we've established that public database of musical works compositions. So anybody can go to our website, themlc.com. In the right-hand corner, you'll see public database. You could search for any works that are there. So this is something that's available to anybody, whether you're a member or not. That's particularly important for those of you who are songwriters, who are either published or perhaps you've entered into some sort of agreement with a publishing administrator like a CD Baby Pro or a Songtrust. While they are collecting on your behalf, you can still go check your data and make sure it's correct and say, this is great, or maybe there's some errors here and that needs to be fixed. So this is a really helpful tool for everybody in the industry. We also administer that blanket license that I've talked about already. When we how that kind of works is we have that license. The DSPs get that license from us. And when they secure that license, that means that they have to provide their data to us every month. We process it, we match it, and we figure out, okay, who needs to get paid and what amount of money. This happens on a monthly basis. So with the MLC, you get paid monthly. We do have a great page on our website that explains exactly how the royalty process works and how we pay out. So if you have more questions on that, that is also a topic I could talk about for probably a good 10 to 15 minutes. But if you have questions on it, let me know. We do have blanket royalty page on our website that explains it as well. But we do collect that data monthly. We match it to the sound recordings. We figure out who needs to get paid and how much. And then, again, we are collecting and paying out U.S. digital audio mechanical royalties. So I'm going to stress U.S. digital audio mechanical royalties for a reason, because we pay out money that gets streamed in the United States. So if you're getting played in London or somewhere else in the world, the MLC doesn't collect that money, but we are collecting for the U.S. market, which is the largest music market in the world. So it's a pretty significant amount. So that's what the MLC does. Yes, Wade.
How do artists collect those royalties in other territories?
Yeah, so the question was, how do artists collect those royalties in their territories? Wade is here just to grill me. So you would need to go to a collective management organization or CMO in that region. So an example of that would be PRS. Like if you're streaming in the UK, PRS would collect those royalties for you. Another option, though, is if you are engaged in a publishing administration agreement with like a CD Baby Pro, Songtrust, whatever, they will collect that money for you. So depends on if you're self-administered or not, but typically these regions have their own version of the MLC where you collect them from. Cool. So that's what the MLC does. I'm going to talk about what the MLC does not do. And the reason we do that is because it's super important, again, to understand what we're paying you and then where you need to go to collect these other monies and like what you're not collecting from the MLC. And it's not because we don't want to do this, it's because the MMA is pretty specific in what we're able to do and what we're allowed to do by law. So again, that's why this slide is also super important to understand where you need to go. So we're not doing anything in performance royalties. So the highlight there is that we do not replace your PRO. How many of us have a PRO? ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, cool. So for performance royalties, any flavor of them, you need to have a PRO to collect those. MLC is not able to collect or distribute those royalties. Another thing is we're not able to do digital performance. That's Sound Exchange, so we don't replace Sound Exchange, and they're going to come up and join me in a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But highlight there is we do not replace Sound Exchange. You do need that to either enter into that agreement or keep that partnership. How many of us have something with Sound Exchange? Great. Looks like some of y'all need to sign up. We're also, we collect specifically digital audio mechanicals, so that means that we're not doing anything for physical. So CDs, vinyl, cassette, maybe, I don't know, whatever flavor of, I know, I was like, maybe not. But if, anything physical, you'll also need to find somebody who collects that. And then we're not doing anything with video either. So YouTube videos is not something, or TikTok videos is not something that we're collecting on either. Now, if it's YouTube music, that's different because that's a streaming service, but videos is not something that we're collecting. And again, we're not doing anything outside the United States. This seems like a lot to people. Yeah? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it is complicated, but it's necessary to make sure that you're earning all the money you can. So if this is like something that you're feeling like, okay, this is too much for me to manage, that's where these publishing administration agreements come into play, because they'll do all of it for you, and you can check your data with us. So since inception, the MLC started administering the blanket license in January 2021. And since then, we've accumulated almost 22,000 members. And we have over 28 million sound musical works in our database. So it's quite a lot of the market that we have in our database. That actually amounts to closer to 70 million recordings. So yeah, there's a lot there, and your stuff is probably there. So definitely check out our public database, see what's registered, see if your things are being collected correctly. For dollars though, data definitely equals dollars. And if you are somebody who is self-administered and you do need to become a member of the MLC, it's super critical that you get as much data into our database as you can, because obviously 28 million works is a lot of works, right? So we need to know, like, okay, which special thing is your thing and what do we need to pay you on? And that's where that data is so important. So at minimum, when you're registering works, it's the title, it's the publisher, it's the writers. But the more data you can give us, if you have ISRCs, if you have ISWCs, the more information we can get, the easier it is for us to match those sound recordings to your work and that usage to your work. Because with millions and millions of works in the database, it's a lot to sift through. But with that being said, we have paid out actually north of $650 million in royalties. So a lot of money in the market. Yeah, huge number for us. We have completed 18 monthly distributions, either early or on time, because we do pay monthly. And we do presently have an 88% match rate, which is exceeding the average in the market. So we're very happy with the work we've done, but we definitely have more to do. So. All right, so now that I've talked about the MLC, how you get paid, all that stuff, how do you become a member and who even needs to become a member? So membership is free. Go to the MLC.com. We're able to offer free membership because the DSPs do fund us 100%. So not only are we able to offer a free membership, but we pay out 100% of the royalties that we accrue. So we don't take a cut. We're able to pay you everything you earn. But yeah, the MLC.com. You'll first create your user account and then you'll sign up to become a member. People who need to become a member are those who are self-administered, so you don't have any sort of publishing administration agreement with, I keep saying CD Baby Pro because I know they're here, but that's a good example. Song Trust, so if you're not in an agreement like that, if you're not published, you are a self-administered songwriter who probably needs to become a member if you're not already. Labels do not, no. Unless you have some sort of special agreement with your label, but typically they don't do publishing. So yeah, you'll need to become a member if you are truly self-administered. For those of you who are, I don't think anybody said they were a publisher, but if you did, you also need to become a member. It's basically the entity that has the right to collect these royalties is who needs to become a member. It is free. So if that is you, become a member now. Yes.
Do you register as a songwriter and a publisher if you're going to collect, or is it something when you go into the claiming database you claim that you are the songwriter and the publisher?
Yeah, so for us, it's just the publisher. So the difference with this is the PRO, you have the songwriter share and the publisher share. With mechanicals, it's just the publisher share. So you would sign up to become a publisher, and then when you claim, if you have to claim a work or claim your shared work or register a work, you would add the writer and claim the percentages of publisher. So if you are a self-administered songwriter, let's say you wrote the work by yourself, you're also publishing that work, you would claim 100% of that work at the MLC. At the PRO, you'd claim 50% as a songwriter, 50% as the publisher.
And is the PRO the combination of the publisher and the composer?
I'm sorry.
What is the PRO?
The PRO, they're a performance right organization. So if you were a composer of the work and you were the only composer on it, you would claim 50% as the songwriter, 50% as the publisher.
These are what, the BMI and
BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, GMR is another one, but that one's pretty.
Is there a list anywhere of what the benefits and advantages of each of those are? Because some of us are in that decision point. Do you go BMI or ASCAP? I have no idea.
I can't really speak to that because I'm not a representative of a PRO. I don't know that there is a uniform list. I know if you go to their websites, they will speak about the advantages, and so I'm not really in a position to
I couldn't hear the question. What
make
was
a
the question?
statement on
The
that.
question was, how do you choose a PRO? How do you know
If
what's
you
going
Google
to
it,
be best?
you'll have a lot of articles.
Okay.
Yeah, talk to both. Yeah, talk to both, and there's a lot of it's relationships and what they offer, but a lot of it is really a relationship, and so I would just talk to both and decide.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So if you are somebody that does need to become a member, go to our website, hit connect to collect, create that user account, then you create your member. After you create your member, though, make sure you put in your banking and tax information because we got to be able to pay you. And that's how we pay you. But then also check our database, see what's registered, see if you need to claim something by using our claiming tool, then register anything that's new. You can also check our matching tool. This is where we post publicly all the basically all the unmatched recordings, or the recordings that we've not yet been able to match. And you'll be able to find a lot of money there. So we have several tools to make it super easy for people to make sure that they're getting paid what they deserve. So if you need to become a member, do those things in that order. Yes.
Really quick, so there's a matching tool, but you can also go in and register each of your works individually to help it get matched. Is that right?
Yeah, so good question. So the question is basically like, what's the matching tool versus registering works? So the matching tool, what that does is match sound recordings to your musical work. So if we have not been able to make a match, it's called unmatched, which is like how many times we use the word matched, right? But it lands in this, and that's where all the, like, I hate this term, we don't call it the black box, but you've probably heard of this. It's the unmatched royalties. It's because you weren't able to match that activity. So when you use the matching tool, you're saying, here are all the sound recordings that are being used on these platforms that are not yet matched to my musical work. Now, you have to have that musical work registered, though, in order to be able to match it.
Registered with the MLC?
With the MLC. For this, and if you're...
that's something that the publisher does directly with the MLC?
Correct. If you are represented by a publisher or publisher administrator, they will do that for you.
Or you will do it yourself.
Exactly. And this is just with the MLC. So if this doesn't count, like if you register your works at the MLC, they are not registered at the PRO. So you have to do it in all these places.
Or sound exchange.
Like if they figured out a match, you don't get any benefit from that?
Yeah, we don't have a database that that we are talking to each other. Now, our data is publicly available, so anybody's able to access that, any PRO or sound exchange or whoever wants to use it. But yeah, right now, there's no like connection between the databases.
Very quickly, is this accessible to artists who live and work outside the United States, but whose works are sold predominantly here?
Yeah. If you live somewhere outside the United States and your works are used in the United States, yes, then you're covered there. Yep.
So, Lindsey, would in your database, if something was played on Spotify, would that already populate in your database, so that would be there for someone to go in and claim, or does it have to be something that was actually registered by a PRO or an administrator?
So if it's played on Spotify, then the sound recording will populate in that. Let's in this scenario, I'm assuming the sound recording is not matched. So all sound recordings, if they're played on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever, they do end up in our database, not the public database, but another one, and then they get matched to musical work. So let's say you don't have your musical work registered with us, there's no way for us to match that. So that will sit in our matching tool for you to go find. You do need to register your work and then match that sound recording to it. Does that answer your question?
It totally does. You're killing it, by the way.
Thank you so much. In the back.
If I already have some songs registered with CD Pro, let's say CD Pro, and then I have some new songs on release I don't want to re-release through them, and I wanted to register on this website, can I have both?
Yes, you can. Yep, that's what we call partially self-administered. But yeah, if not all of your catalog is represented by CD Baby Pro or whoever, then yeah, anything that's not, you can do the rest. Follow us on social media. Oh, and this is our support team. They're awesome. They're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central, phone, chat, contact us. We actually respond. They're really good. So it's my team, so I can say that, but they're really good. So reach out. This is really complicated. Definitely reach out to our support team. That's what they're there for. So, and now I'm done.
Thank you.